Hello friends, in this video we are going to see how to identify a causality as well as stability for the LTI system just observing ROC. Let us begin. For LTI system, we know very well how to identify causality as well as stability, how to identify the given system, whether it is causal, non-causal. Also, we have seen how to identify whether the given system is stable or unstable by observing the nature of its impulse response, that is h of t. So here I have drawn one LTI system having an impulse response as h of t, input as x of t, and output as y of t. First of all, we will see how do we use to First of all, we will see causality based on the impulse response, that is h of t. So we have already seen this. For system to be causal, h of t should be equal to 0 for t less than 0. That is, if you see a graphical representation of h of t must be a right-handed signal, meaning that h of t should be equal to 0 for t less than 0. That is, for negative values of t, you will find absolutely no response for h of t. So mathematically, I can write for causal system h of t must be equal to 0 for t less than 0. Is that right? Otherwise, system is said to be either non-causal or anti-causal, right? So please remember, this is for causal system. If h of t equal to 0 for t greater than 0, this is called as anti-causal system. And if h of t is just not equal to 0 for t less than 0, this is referred to as non-causal system. This is how we identify whether the system is causal, anti-causal, or non-causal. So now we are interested to see how to identify the causality of the system based on the ROC, that is a region of convergence. For that purpose, you have to do it in two steps. First, step number 1 is to take Laplace transform of h of t. Of course, Laplace transform of h of t will be h of s. We have solved so many examples. We know while taking Laplace transform, how do we identify the ROC. Then step number 2 is just to have ROC, or just to identify what is ROC. Once you draw the ROC, you have to observe ROC and you have to identify whether the system is causal, anti-causal, or non-causal. So here now we are going to see, once the ROC is with you, how to identify whether the system is causal, anti-causal, or non-causal. Let us see. So we say that for causal system, h of t is equal to 0 for t less than 0. Is that right? Or I can say that h of t is a right-handed signal. We know that for a signal which is a right-handed signal in time domain, and if you take a Laplace of it and if you plot its ROC, then you find that ROC is also right-handed. Am I right? Then ROC is also present at right-hand side. So we need to think in vice versa situation. That is, we know that, for example, h of t is equal to 0 for t less than 0, then we know very well that it belongs to a causal system. Am I right? If h of t is equal to 0 for t less than 0, it means h of t is a right-handed signal. And for every right-handed signal, when you have your ROC, by observing, you see that ROC is also a right-handed side. So let us go in a reverse way. That is, for example, if ROC is said to be a right-handed, then H of t is belonging to a causal system. So I repeat what I said over here. For example, let's say H of t is e to the power minus 2t times u of t. Is that right? In that case, H of s is equal to 1 upon s plus 2, and we know that here sigma is greater than minus 2 is its ROC. Now what does that mean? The pole is present at minus 2 and ROC is to the right hand side of the pole. So as you can see, the ROC is towards right hand side. When I say ROC is towards right hand side or left hand side, it is always with respect to the pole. Am I right? So here pole is minus 2. So now just observe and tell me whether the ROC is present to right hand side of the pole or towards left hand side of the pole. Of course, it is present at right hand side of the pole. Definitely the system is said to be a causal system. So I would say, since ROC is on right hand side, so as you have seen, it is with respect to pole, therefore system is said to be a causal system. And even by observation, look at h of t. H of t is e to the power minus 2t u of t, and if you draw its response with respect to time, then it would be a negative exponential curve present only at right hand side. Am I right? So this is the impulse response I have plotted with respect to time. As you can see, it is absolutely 0 for t less than 0, and definitely such impulse response belong to a system which is causal in nature. I hope the point is clear. So we can discuss multiple examples. Like, we don't have to really start with the time domain response. We have to only take certain ROCs. I'll give you certain ROCs example and you have to identify whether they are causal, anti-causal or non-causal. Please remember, whenever the whole ROC is towards right side with respect to a pole, then it is causal. If the ROC is to the left hand side with respect to the pole, then it is anti-causal. If ROC happens to be a both sided, then the respective system is said to be a non-causal system. So let me write those points. Please remember, I'm not talking about ROC of input or output. I'm particularly talking about ROC of strictly H of S. So this is what we are talking about, ROC of H of S, where H of S is nothing but a Laplace transform of H of t. So please don't forget that we are strictly talking about H of S. We are not talking about X of S or Y of S, because system is characterized on its impulse response, not on its input or output. So we are going to characterize our system based on its impulse response, that is H of t. So based on ROC, we look at the ROC of H of S. If ROC of H of S towards right hand side with respect to a pole, it is causal. Left hand side with respect to a pole, it is anti-causal. And if you see the ROC trapped between two poles, therefore it is called as a both-sided, then a system is said to be a non-causal. So now I'll give you some examples of ROCs, and in turn you have to identify whether it is causal, non-causal or anti-causal. Let us see few examples. So I've taken total 5 examples here. Look at a very first example. So I've given you a ready-made ROC. You have to only identify whether the system is causal, anti-causal or non-causal. Let me remind you, if the ROC is to the right hand side with respect to a pole, then it is causal. The ROC is present to the left hand side with respect to pole, then it is anti-causal. And if the ROC is trapped between two poles, then it is called as a non-causal. Let's see. In first example, as you can see, a pole is situated here and ROC is to the right hand side with respect to pole. Definitely this system is belonging to a causal system. So a first example refers to causal system. Look at the second example. Here the pole is present at right half of the S-plane. In first example, if you have seen, the pole was present at left half of the S-plane. When I say left half and right half, it is always with respect to the j omega axis. See, j omega axis, the pole is present to the right hand side. And with respect to the pole, the ROC is again present at right hand side. So again, this is a causal system. Let me conclude a very important point. It really doesn't matter how many poles are there, whether the pole is present to left half of S-plane or right half of S-plane, it really doesn't matter for causality of the system. What matters is, with respect to that pole, what is the orientation of the ROC? So let's see the third example. Here also pole is present at both the sides, that is at left half of S-plane also and right half of S-plane also. But as I said, the location of pole is not important. What is important? What is the orientation of ROC with respect to a particular pole? So here the whole ROC is oriented to the left hand side with respect to a very first pole which is present at left half. Since the ROC is present to the left hand side completely, then it is anti-causal system. I hope the point is clear. Look at a fourth example. Now, in fourth example, as you can see, with respect to this pole, the ROC is present to right hand side. With respect to this pole, the ROC is present at left hand side. Therefore, it is what we say, ROC is both sided. Am I right? So I hope you understood what is the meaning of ROC is both sided, because I cannot say ROC is present to the right hand side or left hand side. It depends upon how you see it. With respect to first pole, ROC is right handed. With respect to second pole, ROC is left handed. So in a way, I would say ROC is trapped between two poles. Therefore, it is a both sided ROC, and for both sided ROC, we say it is a non causal system. Please don't forget that all those ROCs are ROCs of H of S. I hope it is clear. I mean, those ROCs are not for X of S or Y of S. They are ROCs of strictly H of S, because we are talking about describing the system, whether it is causal, anti-causal or non-causal, and you know that a system is characterized by its impulse response. So let's look at a very last example, that is the fifth example. And now look at the poles. The poles are present at left hand side also and right hand side also, but then the orientation of ROC in such a way that it is present to the right hand side of the rightmost pole. So with respect to a particular pole, when the ROC is completely present to the right hand side, then definitely it is a causal system. So please understand, it doesn't matter how many poles are there, it doesn't matter where poles are located. What matters is the orientation of ROC with respect to the pole, right? I'm sure you have understood how to identify the causality of the system based on the ROC. Now we shall see how to identify a stability of the system based on ROC. So to start with a stability based on ROC, we will first of all recall how to identify the stability based on the impulse response. So let me remind you, if the impulse response is, let's say, h of t, then if h of t is absolutely integrable, then the system is said to be a stable system. So h of t is your impulse response. If it is absolutely integrable, meaning that area under the curve of h of t is finite, then we say that the given system is a stable system. So when we started with a Laplace transformation, we have seen a coherent condition, that is for Laplace transform to exist, that is for a particular system or for a particular signal, whether the Laplace transform is exist or not, we first of all see the condition for ROC. So if you remember, the condition for ROC was like this, integrating over minus infinity to infinity. For example, if I'm still talking about h of t, that is impulse response, and if I have to see whether a Laplace transform for the given h of t signal is possible or not, we used to write a condition like this, that is h of t dot e to the power minus sigma t and mod dt should be less than infinity. This was condition for ROC. So if you remember, we used to take this integral, and here we used to keep on varying the value of sigma, for which we used to see whether this is absolutely integrable or not, or those set of values for which we get the integration answer to be finite, those range of sigma we consider that region of convergence. Am I right? So somehow if you see, it is quite similar. These are quite similar integrations. Am I right? So let me name this as 1 and this statement as 2. Am I right? See, this 1 and 2 have got their own significances. That is, the significance of the first integration is to define whether the system is stable or not. And for 2, it has got its own significance to decide the condition for ROC. Now the question is, can I still convert my second integral into first integral? If I want to emerge my second integral into first integral, or let me put it in a simple word, if I want to make the second integral exactly same equal to the first integral, what I supposed to do? So what I'm going to do over here is, suppose in this second integral, if you substitute sigma equal to 0, then what is going to happen? It will become e to the power 0, which will become 1, and therefore this second will change to integral over minus infinity to infinity mod of h of t dt less than infinity. But you know what? This is again indicating that it is the condition for stability of the system. Am I right? But originally, this integral was nothing but a condition for ROC. So what I'm saying is, the integral operation that I'm highlighting, from this, now this is derived. So this derived condition is obtained by making sigma equal to 0. Am I right? If you are making this way, what does that mean? This condition is satisfied at sigma equal to 0. Or I can say that the system is stable if ROC exists at sigma equal to 0. I repeat, we can say that the system is said to be stable if even ROC exists at sigma equal to 0. Or in other words, I can say that if ROC includes sigma equal to 0. I repeat, what ROC stands for? Region of convergence. As you can see, the region of convergence is nothing but a particular region, highlighted region, that we make ROC there. So in that ROC, if you find sigma equal to 0 point, it means the given system is stable. So let me write the final conclusion here. So please don't forget, when I'm saying you to observe ROC, it is strictly ROC of h of s, because still we are characterizing the system. So if ROC of h of s includes sigma equal to 0, then a system is said to be stable. So now you can observe a particular ROC. That ROC may include sigma equal to 0 point, may not include sigma equal to 0 point. If it is including sigma equal to 0 point, I can say the system is stable. If it is not including sigma equal to 0 point, then I can say the system is unstable. I hope you got my point. Now you know that where sigma equal to 0 point is. Of course, sigma equal to 0 point is nothing but your origin. So can I say that when my ROC is including sigma equal to 0, it means it is actually including your j omega axis. So I can say that either sigma equal to 0 means indirectly it is including a j omega axis. So I can just give you some examples so you would be like convinced to me. See, when I say stable, it means a response has to be a bounded or unbounded. Of course, when I'm talking about a stability, it has to be a bounded. Now, if it has to be a bounded, for example, I can take a response like this, e to the power minus at u of t. And when I draw this, you know that it is a negative exponential curve present at right hand side. So tell me, is it bounded or unbounded? Of course, this is what we define as a bounded response. And bounded response refers to a stable system. I hope you got my point. Of course, we have to see its ROC also, and not only its time response, but also its ROC should tell you whether it is a stable system or not. So what is the Laplace transform of e to the power minus at u of t? We know that its Laplace transform is 1 upon s plus a, where sigma is greater than minus a is its ROC. Is that right? If you remember, this minus a, that is coefficient of t, is nothing but a pole. And since this multiplied with u of t, it means sigma will always have a greater relation with respect to pole, and therefore sigma greater than minus a becomes the ROC. And if you plan to draw this ROC, it will be like this. So where pole is present? Pole is present at minus a. Am I right? And where ROC is present? ROC sigma is greater than minus a. So we have to cover all the right hand side part with respect to minus a pole. So as you can see over here, the ROC is towards the right hand side, and it is including your j omega axis also, that is sigma equal to 0 point. So since ROC is including sigma equal to 0 point, definitely I can say that the system is stable. So I'm sure now you have understood looking at ROC. So here I want to give you extra knowledge also. Let me remind you, we knew that this was a bounded response, that is belonging to stable system, but this was when I have plotted with respect to time. So we really don't have to do this. Just take a Laplace transform directly, plot its ROC, and see to it within this ROC a j omega axis is included or not. If the j omega axis is included, then we can say that the system is stable. And the extra knowledge is that if ROC includes j omega axis, listen to my statement very, very carefully. When ROC includes j omega axis, then for that function, even a Fourier transform does exist. I repeat, for a particular function f of s, if you have drawn the ROC, within that ROC, even j omega axis is also included, then for that function, even a Fourier transform is possible. Okay, because there are some functions for which a Fourier transform is not possible. So if you want to know for a particular function whether a Fourier transform is possible or not, even looking at the ROC, you can identify that whether a Fourier transform is possible for that function or not. And for this function, as you can see, it is including j omega axis within its ROC. I can say that for e to the power minus at u of t, even Fourier transform does exist. And of course, we have studied that a Fourier transform for e to the power minus at u of t is 1 upon a plus j omega. So now I'll give you one more example. Let us have this example, that is e to the power minus at u of minus t. So tell me, What is the Laplace transform for this? We know that for e to the power minus at, Laplace transform is 1 upon s plus a. Since it is multiplied with u of minus t, I would say negative of this. And when I talking about ROC, ROC is always related to pole and the pole value is minus a. Now whether it is smaller or greater relation, that depends upon whether the function is multiplied with u of t or u of minus t. If it is multiplied with u of t, relation would be greater. If it is multiplied with u of minus t, relation will be smaller. Since it is multiplied with u of minus t, relation would be smaller. And let us try to plot its ROC now. As you can see, the pole is present at minus a and ROC area is sigma less than minus a. Let me plot it. So this is the ROC area. If you notice something, this is your sigma equal to 0 point, am I right? This is your plus sigma, this is minus sigma, this is, in fact, this is minus j omega axis, this is minus sigma. So within this ROC, if you see, your ROC is not including j omega axis. I repeat, your ROC is not including j omega axis. So we can conclude that this system is unstable system. Since ROC does not include j omega axis. Am I right? And even in time domain also I can prove it very easily. Now the question is, do you think a Fourier transform is existing for this? So if you remember, a Fourier transform for this is also not existing, because if you see a time domain response, it would be like this. If I want to plot e to the power minus at u of minus t, it is a negative exponential curve present only at right hand side. So as you can see, it is approaching towards infinity. Area under the curve for this is infinite, meaning that this is not integrable. So this is not integrable. This is not integrable means it is unbounded. If it is unbounded, it means it is unstable. And therefore, Fourier transform does not exist. So we know the fact that a Fourier transform is existing only for those functions which are bounded in nature. Fourier transform exists only for those functions for which if you have ROC, whether that ROC includes j omega axis or not, if it is including j omega axis, then a Fourier transform does exist. It is bounded in nature, it is stable system. If the ROC does not include j omega axis, that is sigma equal to 0 point, it means they are unbounded in nature, that is it belongs to unstable system. So I'm sure now you understood it very well, how to identify whether the system is stable or unstable, whether the system is causal or non-causal or anti-causal, only by observing its ROC. Now we will take few examples over here. So here you have to just answer whether it is stable or unstable. So look at a very first example. As you can see, ROC area doesn't include j omega axis, therefore it is unstable. In second example, ROC is including j omega axis, it is stable. In third example, ROC is again not including j omega axis, it would be unstable. And in fourth example also, ROC is not including j omega axis. Unfortunately, this is also unstable. Along with this, we will identify the causality also now. See, for first example, if you can see, the ROC is towards right hand side with respect to our poles, then it is causal. So system is causal as well as unstable. In second example, if you see, again ROC is present to the right hand side, therefore it is causal and stable. In third example, if you notice that ROC is towards right side for first pole And for second pole, it is towards left hand side. So ROC is said to be both sided, and therefore this is non-causal. So this is non-causal and unstable. And last, ROC is towards left hand side, and when ROC is towards left hand side, then it is anti-causal. And now from this, I come to a very final conclusion, that is, if you want your system to be causal as well as stable, listen to my statement very carefully. If you want system to be causal as well as stable, then all poles should be present on left half of the S-plane. I repeat my statement, if you want your system to be causal as well as stable, then all poles should be present on left half of the S-plane. So here all the poles are present on left half of the S-plane, only then the system would be causal as well as stable. Please remember, whether poles are present on left or right, it doesn't affect the causality. But then if you want system to be stable as well as causal, if you want both conditions to be satisfied, then all poles should be present on left half of the S-plane. And therefore in control system you might have seen that you always prefer a system which is a stable system, where you consider all the poles should be present on left half of the S-plane. So I hope you got the point, and now you are enough eligible to identify causality and stability of the system based on ROC of H of S. Thank you.